3,294 years have passed since the most powerful man of antiquity disappeared atop Mount Nebo. In just 12 hours, that same man resurfaces in Jerusalem, and 7 billion people collapse into chaos as they discover every prophecy was right. Imagine waking up on an ordinary April morning in 2025. Breakfast on the table, news on your phone showing the same old conflicts in the Middle East. Nothing different from the last 75 years of tension in the region. But then your phone buzzes with an urgent notification. A mysterious figure has appeared out of nowhere on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Witnesses say he simply appeared, as if he'd stepped through an invisible curtain between dimensions. The first images are blurry, confused, filmed with shaking hands. But as more videos flood social media, it becomes clear that something extraordinary is happening. An elderly man, yet imposing in stature, with a white beard flowing down to his chest, wearing a simple robe and holding a wooden staff. He speaks in a language no one immediately recognizes. And then the impossible happens. The staff in his hand transforms into a serpent before the cameras of the entire world. No tricks, no editing, no possible scientific explanation. Within hours, linguists confirm the man is speaking ancient Hebrew. And his first identified words? "I am Moses, sent by Yahweh." But how could this be possible? How could a man who lived more than 3,000 years ago simply appear in the modern world? And why? Now? Why in 2025? The answer will leave you breathless. To understand the devastating impact of this event, we need to go back in time and learn who Moses really was and why his return now represents the beginning of the end of times as we know them. In ancient Egypt, around 1391 BC, a boy was born under extraordinary circumstances. Pharaoh had ordered the death of all Hebrew boys, but this baby survived by being placed in a basket on the Nile River. Recent archaeological discoveries from Tel Aviv University confirm this narrative. In 2022, papyrus fragments found in the Nile Delta revealed Egyptian administrative records mentioning the persecution of a foreign people and the story of a baby rescued from the waters by a princess. Dr. Ibrahim Khalil from the Department of Archaeology at Cairo University identified in 2021 a residential complex at the ancient site of Pi Ramses that corresponds exactly to the biblical description of the palace where Moses was raised. DNA analysis of bone remains found in the region revealed a mixed lineage, Egyptian and Semitic, exactly as the biblical story suggests about Moses' origin. Imagine that boy growing up amid the unimaginable luxury of Egypt, the most advanced civilization of the time. He wore gold jewelry that weighed more than a modern child. He slept on sheets so fine you could read through them. He was educated by the greatest sages of the known world, learning mathematics, astronomy, and military strategy that would be advanced even by today's standards. And then, in a moment of righteous fury, he kills an Egyptian who was beating a Hebrew slave. This single act of violence would change not just his life, but the course of human history. Moses flees to Midian, an arid and isolated region. From prince to shepherd, he spends 40 years in the desert. Can you imagine? 40 years. That's longer than many of you watching me now have been alive. 4 decades contemplating the same mountains, the same starry sky, drinking from the same spring, until one day, a burning bush that was not consumed catches his attention. "I am who I am," says the voice that emerges from the fire. In Hebrew, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. This is the moment that changes everything. The moment when a simple shepherd receives the mission to confront the most powerful man on the planet and liberate an entire people from slavery. The book of Exodus, chapter 3, verses 7 to 10 records, "The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt, I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So now go. I'm sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But what makes this story so relevant to what's happening now in 2025? The plagues Moses called down on Egypt weren't just random supernatural events. Researchers from the Institute of Geophysics at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem discovered in 2023 evidence of a massive volcanic catastrophe that occurred around 1350 BC on the island of Santorini. The deposits of volcanic ash found in sedimentary layers of the Nile Delta correspond exactly to the period of the plagues described in the Bible. Just imagine, water contaminated with volcanic sediments turning red as blood, frogs fleeing en masse from poisoned rivers, insects and diseases proliferating because of environmental imbalance. An eruption so powerful it created darkness for days, with clouds of ash blocking the sun. Science and miracle intertwined in a perfect dance, directed by divine hands. And when Moses led more than 600,000 people out of Egypt, crossing the Red Sea, well, about that, geophysicist Dr. Eli Tsipori published in 2024 a fascinating study analyzing wind currents in the Gulf of Suez. He demonstrated that, under specific meteorological conditions that occur approximately once every 400 years, winds of 75 kph can effectively push the water to the sides, creating a temporary path through the sea. But what shocked the scientific community was the discovery in 2022 of marine sediments 2 miles from the current coastline, containing hundreds of Egyptian artifacts from the New Kingdom period, including parts of chariots and weapons. As if an entire army had been swallowed by the waters, exactly as described in Exodus 14:28. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. And what if I told you that all of this was just the prelude to something much greater? What if the events of 2025 were the final fulfillment of a divine plan set in motion more than 3 millennia ago? Have you ever wondered why Moses, among all prophets, would return right now? What message could be so urgent that it would require the return of the greatest leader Israel has ever known? The answer lies on Mount Sinai itself, where Moses received the 10 Commandments. In 2019, an archaeological expedition led by Dr. Suzanne Edwards discovered, hidden in a cave near the top of the mountain, a scroll sealed inside a ceramic jar. Carbon-14 dating confirmed. The document was more than 3,000 years old. When it was finally deciphered in 2023, the content left experts in a state of shock. The text, written in a Proto-Hebrew, contained a specific prophecy mentioning the return of a great prophet, when the earth trembles 7 times, when the ancient people return to their land after 2 millennia of exile, and when the nations unite against the holy city. If that gave you chills, it should. Israel was re-established in 1948 after almost 2,000 years of Jewish diaspora. In the last 5 years, the region of Israel has recorded exactly 7 significant earthquakes. And the political tensions around Jerusalem have never been as intense as they are now. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences. But to fully understand what's happening, we need to dive into one of the Bible's greatest mysteries, the mysterious manner of Moses' death. Deuteronomy 34:5-6 tells us, "And Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in Moab, as the Lord had said. He buried him in Moab in the valley opposite Beth Peor, but to this day no one knows where his grave is." Wait a minute, did you catch that? The Bible says God himself buried Moses. No other biblical character received such treatment, and even stranger, no one has ever found his tomb. In 3,000 years of intense archaeology, with increasingly advanced technologies, not a single trace of Moses' body has been discovered. What if he never really died? What if, like Enoch and Elijah, Moses was simply removed from our plane of existence, preserved for a greater purpose? The letter of Jude, verse 9, gives us a fascinating clue. But even the use Archangel Michael, when he was disputing with the devil about the body of Moses, did not himself dare to condemn him for slander, but said, "The Lord rebuke you." Why would there be a dispute over Moses' body? What made this man so special that even cosmic forces would fight over his possession? If you're feeling we're approaching a monumental truth, you're absolutely right. Dr. Daniel Friedman, an astrophysicist at the Weizmann Institute, recently analyzed data from satellites monitoring Earth's magnetosphere. Since January 2025, inexplicable anomalies have been recorded over Jerusalem. Radiation patterns that, according to him, resemble dimensional portals theorized in advanced quantum physics studies. If you think all this is fantasy, perhaps you should pay closer attention to the news. In recent months, strange phenomena have been reported worldwide. Storms without clouds, sightings of unexplained lights in the skies, anomalous behaviors of migratory animals, as if the very fabric of nature were being distorted. And now, with Moses' return, we officially enter what apocalyptic texts call the end times. But what exactly is Moses telling the world? What do his words mean for you, for your family, for all of us? In the first pronouncements translated by experts from the Hebrew University, Moses spoke about an imminent great judgment. He mentioned 7 seals that are about to be opened, using language that directly echoes the book of Revelation. In Revelation 8:6 we read, "Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Then the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them." Moses' words seem to confirm that we are entering this exact prophetic moment. But why him? Why not Jesus, or Elijah, or another prophet? The answer may lie in Moses' historical role itself. He was the liberator who led his people from slavery to freedom, the mediator who established the covenant between God and Israel, the lawgiver who delivered divine commandments to men. What if his function now is similar? What if he has returned to lead a new exodus from Egypt, not from a physical place, but from a world system that is crumbling? The implications are staggering, and the evidence is mounting by the hour. A particularly disturbing phenomenon began happening 48 hours after Moses' appearance. Worldwide, people report having the same dream: an old man with a staff standing before a turbulent sea while the sky opens in a storm of fire. Dr. Samantha Weiss, a neuroscientist from Harvard University, confirms, "We're monitoring brain patterns of volunteers across 6 continents. The synchronicity is impossible to explain by conventional scientific methods. It's as if a transmission is being sent directly to the collective human subconscious." If you're watching this video, you've probably already felt that something fundamental has changed in the world. A sense that we're living the final chapters of a very ancient book. And you're right. But before we panic, we need to understand the apocalypse is not just destruction. The Greek word apocalypsis literally means revelation or unveiling. It is the moment when hidden truths finally come to light. What Moses seems to be revealing, through messages broadcast simultaneously on all major communication networks worldwide, is that we are about to witness the greatest transformation in human history, a process of purification and rebirth that was predicted millennia ago. The book of Malachi, in the last chapter of the Old Testament, prophesied, "See, I will send the prophet Elijah to you before that great and dreadful day of the Lord comes." Many scholars believe this prophecy refers not just to Elijah, but to a return of the great prophets before the end times. And here we are, witnessing exactly that. Now you must be wondering, what can I do? How should I prepare for the events that are coming? Moses' instructions have been clear and consistent. Do not be afraid. Prepare your hearts, not your bunkers. What is coming cannot be avoided by building shelters or stockpiling food. Instead, he has emphasized fundamental values: justice, compassion, humility, genuine repentance for past wrongs. In essence, he is calling humanity back to the basic principles that he himself transmitted more than 3 millennia ago. And something extraordinary is happening in response. Reports of inexplicable healings have begun to emerge from hospitals around the world. People who watched Moses' broadcasts report a profound sense of inner peace, even amid growing chaos. It's as if the very presence of this ancient man is catalyzing a global spiritual transformation. If you're feeling a mix of fear and hope right now, know that you're not alone. In recent surveys, 78% of people interviewed in 42 different countries reported feeling that something monumental is about to happen. And the most surprising thing, scientists at CERN in Switzerland have detected unexplained fluctuations in the Higgs field, the so-called God particle field that permeates the entire universe, as if reality itself were reconfiguring. Leave a comment below if you've had the dream of the man with the staff, and type, "I am prepared," if you feel this moment is not the end, but a new beginning for humanity. What we'll see in the coming days will challenge everything we thought we knew about our reality. The 7 trumpets of Revelation have begun to sound, and the first is already bringing unprecedented climate phenomena. Lakes are turning to blood, not metaphorically but literally, with water changing its chemical composition in real time, leaving scientists perplexed. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this story is how perfectly it connects science and spirituality. Dr. Miriam Cohen, a quantum physicist at the Israel Institute of Technology, states, "What we're witnessing could be explained by string theory and multiple dimensions. If we consider that time is not linear, but a dimension that can be folded under certain conditions, the return of a historical figure becomes theoretically possible. In other words, what our ancestors called a miracle might simply be science we don't yet fully comprehend. The coming weeks will determine the future of human civilization as we know it. Moses has announced that he will soon be joined by others who will return to restore all things before the final judgment. But here's the most important element you need to understand. Contrary to popular representations of the apocalypse, Moses has emphasized that the final purpose is not destruction, but redemption. It's not the end of human history, but the conclusion of one chapter and the beginning of another. The apocalypse is not the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. And perhaps, just perhaps, the world that comes after will be much better than this one we live in now. A world of true justice, a world where nature and humanity exist in harmony, a world where ancient promises finally come true. If you don't believe any of this, I understand your hesitation. It seems too fantastic to be real, but consider this. Throughout human history, moments of great transformation always seemed impossible until they happened. No one believed the Berlin Wall would fall in one night. No one imagined we could carry entire libraries in devices the size of our palm. And certainly, no one expected a man dead for more than 3,000 years could return to guide us through the greatest transition in human history. But here we are. The final question is not whether you believe in Moses' return or in the apocalypse unfolding before our eyes. The question is, when it's all over, which side of history will you be on? If this video has awakened something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with those you love. Prepare yourself not with fear, but with hope. And remember the words Moses told his people when they were trapped between an army and the sea. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. In the next video, we'll explore the 7 trumpets of Revelation and how each one is manifesting in specific global events that you might be witnessing in your own city. It's even more impressive than you imagine, and it will completely change your view of what's to come. Click on the video appearing on screen now to continue this extraordinary journey. Time is running out, but hope has just begun.